Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with KJ.
And Mike.
No Corey, and it won't be like last time where he showed up late. He's not able to make it tonight because it's Corey, and I expect nothing less.
I know. How dare you be a father?
I know.
Good one at
like,
that.
I mean, he could be a deadbeat dad.
I know. God.
There needs to be more deadbeat dads out there, I'm telling you.
I feel like there are. That's a very low bar.
So this week we are going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which just came out a couple weeks ago. Did take us, due to scheduling, a little bit to see the movie more than normal. Normally we see it like opening day or opening weekend, but it took us like an extra week to see it, and then we saw it super late, 9:30.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know if that's sarcasm or not.
So I prefer the later shows. I don't know why. I'm just used to it. I get out of work late, so I eat food and I sit down to watch my shows, and I'll watch a movie at 9:30 at night, and then when it's over, I go to bed. So it's just my schedule.
Right.
It's like the last thing I want to do is I'll watch a movie to unwind, and then I go to bed and have awesome dreams about the movie.
So yeah, we went and saw the movie. It wasn't as packed as I thought it was going to be. I expected more.
Fucking guy.
I know. I was going to talk about that. I was expecting more people, but it was a 9:30 movie.
Right.
I'm very curious if we would have went to the 6:30 movie, the 4 o'clock movie, the 1 o'clock movie, if it would have been more packed, because this movie has made a lot of money.
I was going to say, box office sales says that it's been pretty busy.
Yeah, so the budget of this movie was around $250 million, and so far it's been out for a couple weeks. I think this is about to go on week number 3, and it's made $670 million.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty successful, I'd say.
Yeah.
And even when because usually the $250 million budget, that's just the budget of the movie. That's not the advertising. Usually advertising is roughly about the same cost. So even if this movie costs
as much to make as it does to advertise?
But it depends how hard they push it. And usually movies that cost $100, $200, $300 million to make, they're really pushing hard. So they're spending all this money on advertising. So for a movie like this, let's say it did cost $250 million to advertise it as hard as they did. Right now, this movie has still made $170 million profit in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't include, it's Disney, so you got to think toys and...
Oh, yeah. That's just box office.
Right.
Just box office.
Right.
Not everything else that comes along with it. And it's funny to me because obviously these last few Marvel movies that we've seen, before we get into the actual movie, but the last few Marvel movies we've seen, they've made money, but it hasn't been we haven't really enjoyed them. I think the last one that we really, really enjoyed was No Way Home.
So keep in mind, too, I feel a lot of it does have to do with the way that the movie comes across to the audience, because...
The story.
Well, yeah, because, to me, I thought it was a really good movie. So, we watched it a week late, so some people are waiting for those original, those first critics and those first audience scores to be okay, maybe this is one that I want to see in theaters.
Yeah, that's definitely possible, but I was more thinking of even the critics, even week 1 of all those movies, where a lot of people were saying superhero fatigue because there's been so many superhero movies. I don't think there's superhero fatigue, and that's why everything is getting lowered. I just think those other movies weren't as good.
Right.
They're fine, but they're not as good. And this movie, a Guardians movie, once again proved a superhero movie can be phenomenal.
I know it. I know it's in the superhero genre because it's Marvel and everything, but I feel like Guardians is one of those movie types where it doesn't feel like Superman or Batman, or it doesn't feel like a superhero movie, even though it's a comic book movie.
Do you mean the story that James Gunn has told doesn't feel like a superhero movie? Or do you mean those characters in general, if you look at the comics?
They're not, they're theoretical heroes, and they're the Guardians of the Galaxy, or that's what they portray themselves as, but they're also grittier, and it's a different take on a superhero, and I feel like that's what kind of keeps it fresh too.
So for me, I'll agree with that, because it isn't so... One of the greatest things about Guardians for the most people anyway is it's not... Even if you don't know anything about superheroes, you kind of know who Batman is, who Superman is, who like the Iron Man, Hulk, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So you kind of know who those are. Guardians, you kind of basically get to start fresh.
Right.
Even some of the comic book nerds weren't really into Guardians until like the movie was about to come out. So unless you were like a diehard person, like you might not even known this. So you kind of had like a fresh slate.
Right.
And James Gunn did really good with that slate and was able to bring those characters to life, make a compelling story that people actually cared about. And characters, like if you think about Avengers 1, it brought together all these superheroes in a cohesive story, right? Guardians is basically, the first one is basically that.
Right.
Because there's so many of them already anyway within this story and they're bringing them all together to have this cohesive story that has to do with Ronan the Conqueror and then obviously Thanos in the background. So you're getting all of that. That to me is great. Like being able to do that. It's like an Avenger type movie, but just by itself. And he keeps that going with the second one, and then obviously clearly with the third one. And James Gunn has a way of making me care about characters I shouldn't fucking care about. Like Rocket is a raccoon, like, and I cared about that damn raccoon.
Yeah.
I had me in the feels, man.
So this is one of those movies when I've seen a lot of like people that I know, especially that are more like, I don't want to say animal activists, but like have more of a soft spot for animals. So that this one is kind of hard to watch in places. It's a good movie, but it is hard to watch. Yeah.
So for me, this is easily one of the best movies of phase, although we're in phase 5 now. So out of phase 4 and 5, it's probably number 1 or number 2.
With
out
Spider-Man?
Of both those phases with Spider-Man,
yeah.
They're
very, very close.
Yeah, and Spider-Man mostly because of the nostalgia.
Right.
It's still a good movie, and I still love everything about it, but a lot of the extra for that movie is the nostalgia factor, bringing back in Green Goblin, bringing back in the other Spider-Mans. It's great, but you have this. This movie doesn't have that. This movie is its own thing without bringing back characters from different universes, and it's just a continuation of the story that they told in Guardians 1, 2, Infinity War, Endgame, and now here we are at Volume 3, which is supposed to be the last chapter of this Guardian story.
Yeah. I think the guy who plays Drax...
Batista,
he said done. He's all done.
So. Gamora also mentioned it about being done. I mean, technically Bradley Cooper could still go because it's just his voice. Like, they're not... They do some of his motion capture, but mostly it's just the voice, and they have other people doing it because he's just the voice of Rocket.
I would assume he's going to be back because I think that Rocket becomes the leader of the Guardians.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll do another movie, but he could be obviously involved in the next Avenger type movies.
Right. He'll be the captain of
the crew,
the side ship or whatever.
Yeah.
And clearly Star-Lord comes back because it says it in the movie.
At the end Star-Lord will return. Yeah. So I'll be curious how he returns. Like, he's
going to be in the wars, right?
I assume so. But is it that Star-Lord, or is it just a different Star-Lord from another universe? Because if we're talking about the multiverse issue, and if we're talking about Secret Wars, it doesn't necessarily have to be him, like
True.
that particular one.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they don't bring back Chris Pratt.
Well, no, I'm still saying it'll be Chris Pratt. I just don't know if it'll be this established character that we've got to know over all these movies, or is it going to be a different variation of him?
I gotcha. Yeah.
Although it'd be really funny if they got Chris Evans, Chris Pine, Chris Pratt, and
all the Chris's.
Yeah, all Chris Hemsworth, and just be like they're all different variations. Hey, man, it's the multiverse. Technically, anything is possible.
That's true.
Yeah, it would just be funny to see all the Chris's.
There was the animated one where Black Panther was Star-Lord.
Oh,
the guy who plays Black Panther.
Yeah. Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That was in the What If, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie was. I didn't get bored once during the movie, which was nice. I was very interested in everything going on, and the only time I got taken out of the movie is because of the guy 7 rows in front of us who kept laughing horribly, and it was just so bad, and then just kept talking through some of it too. I was a little bit concerned that maybe he was special. So
for sure.
I don't know for sure, because some people are just assholes in a theater.
No, I saw him coming in. He had like one of those like walker cart things.
Okay. Well, I'm
And
glad
he
that I
seemed-
didn't say
he had a-
anything.
He had a handler. I don't know what they
Oh,
call
okay. Like, yeah, somebody that brought him to the movies.
Yeah.
Well, that's better that I didn't say anything then, because I was
Yeah.
getting fucking annoyed, and
I know you
I don't
were.
deal with that in a
I kind
theater.
of thought it was funny, although it was a
We're
little
in
over
public.
the top.
Yeah, and we're in public. The
And he
issue
sounded
was
like straight up Peter Griffin.
yeah. So if that laugh wasn't so obnoxious, like let's just say it was the talking and no laughing. Oh God!
Oh
every
my
couple
God,
minutes.
that was funny.
So let's just
It's
say
just like that.
if it was no laugh and just the talking, I would have said something, because the laugh is what gave me reservations, because I thought like, okay, maybe there's
He
something.
was having a grand old time.
I know, but fuck
I loved
off.
that movie.
But you're in
He
public.
Loved it.
If you're in public, you're at a movie theater. This is not your house. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all about people.
Should have brought him to the 3:00 show. Past
I-
bedtime.
I'm all about like cheering during a movie at certain scenes when it's appropriate. I'm all about laughing at certain scenes when it's appropriate.
I feel like I went to see one of the Avengers movies, and like it was packed.
Yep.
And it was before they did their remodel, I believe. It
Yep.
was like a packed crowd, and like when something big happened, everyone was like, "Oh yeah!"
Yeah.
I hate that.
Oh, dude. All right. So Corey and I went to.
I don't mind
Augusta.
if one person is being annoying as long as it's like in small amounts. Like again, the girl with the fucking phone that pissed me off way more.
But you didn't do anything.
I threw popcorn at her.
That's not doing anything.
I didn't have to. Dylan was the
He
one
didn't-
yelling
but
at
that
her.
didn't change anything. He said one thing.
Exactly. Some people are just dumb.
No, I would have taken the phone and fucking chucked it.
Yeah. Well, I think they call that like assault or something.
I don't think it's assault. Maybe property damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be assault.
Her daddy would have sued me.
But yeah, so Corey and I went to the Augusta cinema to see that Regal, and there it was packed.
Right.
And when like Captain America got the Mjolnir,
Yep.
the crowd
caught
went
it.
bananas.
Oh, yeah.
And I went bananas. It was great.
Yeah.
Like that moment is awesome. But that is also the movie where sitting next to us, the guy started crying during the movie, and I'm okay with getting teary-eyed, and I'm even okay with like tears rolling
When
down your face.
Stark died.
Yeah, when Stark died.
I was a little upset on the
Yeah,
inside.
you could be upset on the
Yeah.
inside. You can be
Was he
teary-eyed.
sobbing though?
Oh,
like,
he was sobbing.
heving.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like it was like full on crying. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh, it was so bad.
Oh my god.
Like again, I'm fine with certain
get
things.
this guy a towel.
I'm fine with certain things, but there are limits. You're in public.
Yeah.
Like,
Control yourself.
yeah, you're literally impacting somebody else while you're out in public, and even though I don't necessarily think it's intentional, you're literally just thinking about yourself.
Some people wear their heart on their sleeve, man. The whole thing.
Needs to fucking go wear his heart somewhere else.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Guardians 3, because it was really good. What did we think about the new Groot? The now like adult version, but not the same looking adult version from the first movie.
I wouldn't say it bugs me. It's weird that. Okay, I understand how plants work, right? So, like, if you have a shoot of a plant, it won't grow to look like the same plant,
Right.
But he is huge.
Maybe
in
he's
this
working
movie.
out.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
we don't know. So at this time in the plant's life, he's got to be like, what, mid-20s, 30, if you were like in a human years or whatever.
I think that's what they're
So
going
like
for.
maybe like old Groot was like 40. You know what I mean? Like kind of lankier.
Well,
and
the
more
old again, one of the things we have to remember is that Groot and Groot are not the same Groot.
Right. They're like
that first one died.
right. Well, it's
That's basically like
again, it's
his
kind of like a
baby.
plant. Like you have a shoot.
I understand, but the first one is literally dead. Like, that's been confirmed by James Gunn.
Right.
So
that's how plants work.
Yes.
Right. It's
and
a
then
shoot,
so it's like a shoot
an
or a
offshoot.
seed that then grew to be something else. So it's a little bit different. So they shouldn't be exactly the same, and they're not.
Right.
And so we just got a bulked up version, man.
Huge.
He is. He hit those roids.
He's a
real hard.
powerhouse.
Yeah, man. Hey, sometimes you need that with you. He wrecked house in this movie too.
I remember when they're like in that hallway.
Yep.
And he's just, I mean, he's laying.
Yeah. I mean, he was really good in Infinity War too, when he was teenage Groot, where he helped out Chris Hemsworth's character of Thor, where he like ripped off his own arm to add to Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
And then when they start fighting in Wakanda and he just starts kicking ass, like that's a really good
So the other thing
version of him.
too, that part also bugged me. If you have like a little piece of Groot that's left and it grows into baby Groot and then turns into big Groot, does Mjolnir eventually become a Groot?
So
Is it going to be like Parrot Groot?
do you? What,
With-
I don't
not
think you mean
Mjolnir,
Mjolnir. You mean Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker.
Yeah. So no, I think the reason that it's when Groot died and how his like he had like little seedlings and particles coming down because of how he sacrificed himself.
No, you see him put a stick in a pot.
I thought that was from. I didn't think it was just a stick. I thought it was from how he basically sacrificed himself. That then there were these things
Seed
that.
pods.
Yeah.
I thought I saw Rocket like
Just
take
literally grab a stick?
yeah, and like sticks it in a plant
I
pot,
don't
and then
know.
the next thing you see is like
Well, that's kind of like Deadpool. If you like rip off his arm, will the arm grow back into
That's-
something?
yeah,
or
that-
just there.
that's the plot hole I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe there's just billions of Groots out there. We just haven't seen them.
I mean, I think there is. I think there's got to be like obviously there's got to be a race of Groots.
Sure, I meant just off of this one Groot.
Oh,
There's
right.
just billions now.
It's just
'cause
like
every time-
trees.
Yeah, man.
They just
Trees that can kick your ass.
yeah, like it's just like you cut off a limb of a tree and you stick it in a plant pot, it'll grow a tree.
I don't know if that's true.
It is. It's called cloning.
Still, that doesn't sound right.
It is.
It doesn't sound right. I didn't say whether it is or isn't.
I'm telling you,
It doesn't sound right, and I don't know enough to debate it.
you can cut off a limb of a tree as long as it's not like it's going to be like at a specific point in the tree's growth, and then you plant it and you'll grow a tree.
Good to know.
Called cloning.
I don't think I'll ever do any of that.
It's a pretty big thing when you're growing pot. You clone your pot plants because your clones are always going to be.
Well, I feel like a
females.
pot plant's a little bit different than a tree.
It's a pot plant's a tree.
I mean,
Has
no, it's a plant. It's in the name.
Well, a tree's a plant.
No, tree is a tree.
They're all in the plant family.
How do you know?
Kingdom, phylum, order, genus, species. I don't remember all of the thing. Kings play cards on fancy green tables in the plant family.
So what did we think of Nebula in this one?
She looks big, and
What do
I
you
know,
mean?
like she looks pregnant. Like the actress might
Really?
be. Yeah, she looks a little thicker.
I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, She looks a
I
little
loved
thicker.
her. I just love her character development over all these movies. It's one
I
of the
liked her
things-
more as just like the cynical badass. And this, she's just like downtrodden cynical. I don't know.
Well, she's trying to obviously come to terms with of being like abused and neglected and literally ripped apart and put back together,
Right.
and realizing what a family can be or could be. So she's going through all of.
I'm
those
surprised she
issues.
gets along so well with
Peter
Gamora?
Rocket. Oh,
because that's the version of Gamora that she hated. Like I just watched Guardians 2 today, actually. And like she comes flying in on the spaceship, like guns blazing, literally trying to crash into her. She's like,
Yes.
because she always gets bested and she's literally trying to kill her.
yep.
The version that she thinks she's killing is not the same version of.
Yeah, but she didn't really want to kill her though.
Yeah, she tries pretty hard.
She does, but she doesn't actually.
I don't know
try
anyone
to kill.
that flies a spaceship into you and be like, well, I wasn't really trying to
She
kill
really
you.
wasn't trying to kill her. That wasn't the whole point. That's kind of the end of
Aha,
that
I bested
fight.
you. Ha-ha.
Yeah, that's basically all it was. I
know.
wanted to best you.
Yeah.
That
I want to drive this ship right
Hey.
up your cooter.
No, it was just more about like proving that you didn't have to be torn apart again, and so that you could be on the same level as
Right.
her. But I just loved her character development through all these movies, from being like the psychosadistic lady to then having that moment with Gamora and the epiphany, and then losing Gamora, and then everything dealing in this movie with kind of like Gamora coming back. But it is, as you said, like it's the past Gamora who doesn't have any of those experiences of them together. So I was expecting there to be more friction there too, but at least in Gamora's time, they were still, like, Gamora still considered her a sister at that moment too.
Right. Rivals,
sisters. But sisters,
Yeah.
right? And I think you get kind of some of that where they're more standoffish than compared to what they were after they had that fight scene in Guardians 2.
She's much more useful as a Guardian.
Yeah, and
'Cause she's like a techie. Like, she does all like the techie stuff.
well, yeah, and
She's downloading all this stuff like directly
Rocket
to her
gave
head.
her upgrades
Yeah.
too, because he's like a mad scientist, but in a
Yeah.
good way.
I love the backstory, how they tell you all that. Like, even this, like, I can't remember what the villain is called now.
The High Evolutionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he is creating all these races for long periods of time, and he creates the entire sovereign race, right?
Yes.
These of super technical beings, and the one being that he's trying to find is Rocket, because he's just so advanced.
Well, it's not that he's advanced; it's just that he had an idea outside of what the High Evolutionary had an idea of. So, the High Evolutionary is like in his mind the smartest person in the world, right? And then he couldn't figure out something, and everything else that he has created, even these newer things that are supposed to be better versions of everything, weren't able to have like an original idea. They always had to be guided, and they always had to look to the High Evolutionary as their god to tell them what to do.
Right.
And Rocket was the only creature that he was created that
Thought
went
outside the
above
box.
him.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's why he, wanted him back. But yeah, that backstory with Rocket was really well done. I'm glad they didn't do it, but I thought they were going to, as we were going through the first like hour of that movie. Rocket is barely in it. Like, so he gets put down on a table, and then you think like potentially the whole movie is just them trying to save him. So I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad that they brought him back towards like the middle of the movie, let's say.
I mean, he's in a lot of the movie because it's all the backstory.
The backstory. That I
Right.
agree with. But I meant the Rocket we know today.
Right.
But seeing the backstory with everything with all the other creatures.
What was your favorite mutant character?
The walrus
The
or whatever.
walrus?
Yeah, he was just funny.
Oh, what was his Toofs?
Toofs, yeah, Toofs. Yeah, because he's
and
got
Floor?
Toofs. Yeah, and Floor. Floor was good. Yeah.
I'm on the floor. My name's Floor.
That was
She's-
the bunny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like spider legs and then like a shredder mask.
Mask
thing.
over the face. Yeah. The God, when the High Evolutionary killed his probably what would be his love of his life,
girlfriend,
everything. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really girlfriend, but yeah. Oh, that was a hard moment. I knew she was gonna die, obviously.
Right.
I didn't realize it was gonna be right that second, like just as they got out.
I didn't know if they were all gonna die. I was kind of hoping like they would like get away and they would like lose them somewhere. Like they would just like have to escape into a different place and they lose touch or whatever. But I mean, it makes sense that they all die.
Well, I knew she died. I definitely knew that, but I wasn't sure when. Like, I figured it was kind of, if you look at that movie, it was the perfect timing for that, because literally they just got out, they just hugged, and it's like, everything's going to be okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Oh, you're dead.
Yep.
Like, it was such a heartbreaking moment. And then Rocket's fucking
He's
reaction
so
to
angry.
that visceral scream, and then him ripping the High Evolutionary's face off with his claws was so impactful, man. Like, I watched that and went, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then I loved at the end of the movie where they take off the High Evolutionary's face to show the damage that Rocket actually did.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it added even more to that scene to see how much damage he did because of what
Red
he
Skull
did to
number
him.
2.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was so good. It was so good. His story just... I wasn't expecting to care about a raccoon. Man, like, seeing everything that he went through, especially when you go back and you look at the first 2 movies and who his character is, and then even Infinity War and Endgame, because he doesn't get snapped away, but he sees all of his friends more or less get snapped away, including Groot, who calls him dad as he's getting snapped away.
Right.
So that is very impactful, and then you see how he deals with that, and just, it's his life that he's always going to have these losses. And then to see all that history that he went through, to see the character that he became, to now leading the Guardians. I don't know, man. James Gunn has this ability to write a story that gets me to care about almost all of these characters, give them good up and downs in their character arc, and then culminates it almost perfectly for every single character.
It's Rocket and Groot, right? When we first see them in Guardians 1?
Yes.
How did they get together?
They don't show you.
Yeah, like, we don't really see what happens when he leaves the facility.
No, we don't see that. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Like, they could easily do, like, a mini-series or something like that. That would be very interesting to see what Rocket went through after escaping the High Evolutionary, how he ended up with Groot, how they started being mercenaries, or bounty hunters, I should say. Like, give me all of that. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see that shit.
He's not a Ravager, right? Like,
no.
Right.
No. I mean, they might be like at this moment, he might be like as an offshoot of the Ravagers, but not really. Now that he's taken over the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, yeah, that nowhere is the sanctuary for
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, he wasn't a Ravager before that. He was just a bounty hunter that would try to collect credits, basically. Yeah. But yeah, so then we have Mantis, who was okay in this movie. She actually showed her powers more in this movie than I think she has in any of the other ones, with getting people to, like when they're in that security area and she just starts touching people and making them either sleep or making them fight for her, or saying that they're in love with Batista, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
It was a good scene. So I like that, and then her character standing up to Nebula and telling her not to call Drax stupid or blame him, it's his fault, during one of the scenes, and then she eventually makes Drax forget that she called him stupid. It's just so good. Like, that felt like a perfect culmination for her character too, because when you first meet her in Guardians 2, it's with Ego, and she doesn't say anything.
Well, yeah, because she's alone on the planet.
Correct, yeah.
So she even says it's herself, like she has no, like, human interaction, no...
Not even just human, just any interaction with anybody else. So to see that, progression of her character was I just felt really well done. And then her interactions with Drax's character has always been funny to me.
Yeah.
And a little bit, heartwarming. And then obviously we have Drax, his character, who I kind of expected to die in this movie, just because with Dave Bautista saying he wasn't going to play the character again, it did appear like they might kill him off. There really wasn't a good time to kill him off in this movie. I just assumed he was going to sacrifice himself. But
isn't he supposed to be indestructible, though? That'd be difficult to do.
I mean, they could do what... I mean, are we under the same impression that Peter should have died in this movie when he was out in space?
The second time, you mean?
Yeah. But the time where his face actually blew up.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was going to die.
Like, he should be dead. We're both under... So Drax could have done that. Drax could have went out to save somebody out there, and he would have died. He's not able to survive in space like that.
Yeah.
So there are ways to kill him.
I mean, keep in mind, so that was one thing. People are like, well, Peter should have died. He was in space. He was all frozen. Everything is like, yeah, but he's also half celestial.
You're right. He is half celestial, but it's still, I hated it because he didn't use any of his celestial powers during this movie at all.
He can't.
What do you mean he can't?
He only has celestial powers if he uses the light of the planet and he blows the planet up.
So he's not a celestial then, so he shouldn't survive out in the...
He doesn't have celestial powers. He is a...
half celestial being.
Yes.
But
it's ingrained in his DNA, but the power to shape things is only through ego, through the planet. And when he blows the planet up, he loses that, like, touched the power to shape anyway.
Right. But then, yeah.
However, it does make him like stronger than the average human and more like the same reason he can like hold the Infinity Stone for a little bit longer than he should.
Well, the planet was still there at that moment.
Well, true, but he hadn't tapped into it at all.
Yeah, but it was ingrained in him.
Right.
But now the planet's gone, so is it not ingrained in him anymore? Because there's no power there.
I still think I think he's slightly stronger or a little bit more resilient than the average human.
I will say I think that was the only moment I didn't like where I get potentially the reasoning behind it.
Not true. The only part I didn't like of the whole story was not Black Adam.
Oh yeah, no,
Adam
you're
Warlock.
right. You're right. Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock was
Bad.
awful.
Yeah. And it's because it's not Adam Warlock.
No.
It's not. It's this version
Kid
of Adam
Warlock.
Warlock, and it wasn't good. I thought, God, I forget his name, like Adam Poulter or whatever his name is, the guy who plays him, did fine for the character that they wanted for this.
Yeah.
But that's not who Adam Warlock is.
No.
Adam Warlock is supposed to go fucking mental because of an Infinity Stone and want power, and then you're able to kind of like, if you can get the Infinity Stone out of his head, then he kind of comes back to being like a good being, like a vision type of being, but then can keep getting corrupted by the Infinity Stone. And that to me is a hell of a lot better of a character than what we got. We got a infant child basically, and that's what the what are they called, the gold people,
The Sovereign.
Yeah, that's basically what they say, because that's his mom.
They took him out of the pod
early. Yeah. But oh god, I agree. Like, I liked him in the very beginning when he came to nowhere and wrecked house. Like, in that very beginning when he just started kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah.
Was great. I was like, that's Adam Warlock. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then right after that, when he gets shot and then goes back to his mom, like, then he just becomes this whiny little kid. And it just became for comedic effect.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I was the actor playing that, I'd have been pretty let down by the lines that I'd have to do.
Yeah. Again, like, if you're trying to go for the funny comedic type thing, he landed some of those, but it shouldn't be for that character.
No.
Like, that's my issue. If you want to be funny and have a character, that's fine, or find a way to do that character justice while also being funny. I'm fine with that too. Yeah, I'll agree with you. That was the worst part of the movie. The second worst part was the Peter thing.
I don't know what they were trying to go for. To me, it didn't land. Like, if they were trying to go for a very infantile Adam Warlock that in another movie or whatever has character development, sure. If this is your intro to Adam Warlock and eventually you get to flesh him out, okay. If this is his flesh out story and...
Well, I'm sure he's probably going to be in the Avengers movies, but I just don't know.
That's the problem, though. Like, you can't put a character into an Avengers movie because there's no time to flesh out a character in an Avengers movie. There's too many things going on.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do something else, like something, I don't know, like a show or whatever to like give more character development, because his was abysmal at best.
Well, I will say he had a little bit, because obviously he was a mama's boy who was only listening to her, and then she died, and then he got saved by Rocket, right? I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he was like, "Why'd you save me?" Blah blah blah. And he said like everybody deserves a second chance or something. I don't remember. And so he gets a little bit there, and then obviously he saves Peter at the end.
Redeemed villain.
Yeah, redeemed villain. Fucking tell me about it. It less than a movie to redeem a villain.
That was bad.
Yeah.
I know you just punched me through 8 brick walls,
right?
but no biggie, bud.
We're best friends
Yeah,
now.
we got this.
We're all going to be on the same team. Let's go.
Yeah, hey, can you go? The only thing that you're in this movie for is to save Quill at the very end of the movie.
I also felt like, and maybe I'm wrong here, because it depends how much James Gunn mapped this out, but like they did the reveal of him in the second movie at the end that, oh, look, we're going to get Adam Warlock. And then obviously we got Infinity War and Endgame. And then we got the third movie, and I felt like it was like, oh shit, yeah, I'm supposed to have Adam Warlock in this. Oh, okay. But I kind of want to do this other story about Rocket with the High Evolutionary. We'll just throw Adam Warlock in too. Like, that's what it...
I mean, you see him in the pod at the end of...
the second movie.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
He fits the Guardians story. Like, you don't have to put him in any other, like, movie before that. But... we don't know anything about him. Like, we don't, like, where's his power come from?
Well, that's my point. I thought the entire third movie was going to be Adam Warlock.
Right.
I didn't know that it was going to be High Evolutionary until, like, the preview started coming out.
Yeah.
They teased, the whole point of the tease of that was supposed to be Adam Warlock. That's what you're supposed to be getting. As the big bad. And it just wasn't. So that's why it felt like, that's why I was thinking maybe it felt a little rushed or a little bit like, oh shit, yeah, we still have to add him in.
Like, if they would have done the same thing that they did with the Winter Soldier, I'd have liked it a lot better. Like, the Winter Soldier was a good villain that was redeemable.
Yes. Well, to be fair, they also introduced him before that, though, because he's Bucky.
Right, but let's say they didn't. Let's just say that he was just a soldier that was... taken over. Like, he didn't really have to be put in as Bucky.
He kind of had to be put in as Bucky to have the impact and have Cap care about him and, like, be willing to sacrifice certain things and be potentially an enemy of the state to save his best friend.
I think they could have put him in a couple more places and made him a little bit darker, and he'd have been a more believable Adam Warlock. Like, sure, he's a teenager kind of person, but, like, he's a sovereign, and you'd think he'd be a little, I don't know, more pompous instead of, like...
pompous, egotistical. He has the strength, but he also wasn't very... I don't want to call it sadistic, but he didn't really have a mean streak after that first bit. So you got like 5 minutes into the movie and then they introduce him.
Like,
but then that there goes his mean streak.
Yeah,
really.
and the Winter Soldier like does it the whole way through, which is which I feel is very like fluid. Like it flowed very well through the movie. And they could have done like a couple more, like he shows up here and there or whatever, and he's just a thorn in their side, but in like a bad way until he's able to be redeemed. Like, you know, he could have been like injured during that first battle, and like his powers aren't as high because he has that injury or whatever, but he's still a pain in the ass for them.
Right.
And they're like, oh, fuck, he's back. Like, and he's a big bad. So like, we got to deal with this. And then at the end, like, whatever, the mother gets killed and then he's kind of redeemed because he's saved by one of them. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you're not my enemies. And then helps him at the end. I feel like that would have been a little bit more fleshed out.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like it's a lot to put in a movie, and it's already a 2.5 hour movie. I understand that they had to cut corners where they did. I just feel like if you have a big character like Adam Warlock, that's not the corner that you cut.
No, and see, that's one of my issues with like, so you think back at Spider-Man 3. We had Venom, we had Sandman, and who else did we have? There was a third one, right? Pretty sure there was a third villain in Spider-Man 3. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. It was Venom, Sandman, and
Green Goblin.
Yeah, the hairy Green Goblin version. Like we had all three of them in that movie, and it was too much. Yet all of them could have been a standalone movie. So then we have this movie where you have Adam Warlock and the High Evolutionary, separate movies. Like I understand they're only doing 3, I get that. But don't try to just keep shoving multiple villains in a movie when you don't need it. It's fine to just have one villain. It really is. Like, you can have one big bad and it'd be a really good movie. Look back to the first Spider-Man. It's just well, any of the first Spider-Men. The first one that we have with Tobey Maguire, your villain is the Green Goblin. The first Spider-Man that you have with Tom Holland, the villain is Vulture. Fantastic. The first Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield is the Lizard. Yeah. Doc Connors.
Yeah.
Was great. Like, there was no need to add in all these other villains for no reason. So with this one, and look, Guardians 1. So we had a little bit of Thanos, but not really. The main villain obviously was Ronan. The second one's just Ego. Like, there's nothing else. It's just Ego.
Yeah.
Sure, they have some side stories with the Ravager stuff.
Sovereign.
The
Sovereign are in.
Yeah, they show up at the thing, but it's mostly like Ego. Like, he is the big bad. Like, that's the whole point of the movie. And in this one, it looks like there's supposed to be two big bads with both High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock. But then Adam Warlock just does like a 90-degree turn and then another 90-degree turn.
Yes and no, though, because like the High Evolutionary, we find out created the Sovereign. So it's more of like you find out that the Sovereign are the henchmen of
Sure.
But if that's the case...
But Adam Warlock shouldn't be a fucking henchman.
Right, I was going to say, if that's the case, they should have melded them a little bit better so they don't seem like two factions.
Right, yes.
Like, the High Evolutionary could have easily, like, gone to these different things or whatever. I mean, I understand that they're in the same place multiple times during the movie, but they seem disconnected.
Yes, they do. But I think that was also trying to be like one of their reveals too, that he created the Sovereign.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be kind of intimidated by the Sovereign and Adam Warlock, and then there's that scene where he's just manhandling his mom.
Yeah.
And just being like, I created you, yada, yada, yada. I think that was supposed to be like a reveal type of moment where you're just like, oh shit, he did that with these people too, and we're supposed to be worried about them, so we should be even more worried about him. And yeah, it just didn't... I was fine with the Sovereign, him creating them and having that power. I actually kind of like that. I just hated the Adam Warlock part.
So I wouldn't say I found like a little plot hole, but what do all of the people call in Guardians of the Galaxy called Earth?
Earth?
Terra, right? You're a Terran.
Going to Terra. Both. Like, both.
I never hear them call Earth.
They say Earth a few times. You're an Earthling.
But the High Evolutionary created Counter Earth.
Yeah, he did.
Not Counter Terra.
But he said that he visited Earth, I believe. So that's why he would call it Counter Earth. Pretty sure in that he says that he visited Earth and he saw this, that, or the other, and he liked it, but it just could be better and it could be more perfect from an evolutionary standpoint.
Right.
So then he's like, okay, we're Counter Earth.
Yeah, he's ultimately trying to find like beings that like will evolve themselves, like make music and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I think those creatures that he had did make music, but I don't think they made anything necessarily like original because
that's why he just wiped out the whole planet.
Correct, and he sounds like he's done that many times.
Yeah. So the other thing too is like these are the Guardians of the Galaxy, but like
they didn't know
under them, like they saved their buddy Rocket. But a whole planet was destroyed.
Yeah. They tried to save some of those people. Right?
They didn't save any of them. Right, they didn't even tell, hey, get off the planet. It's about to blow up. They're
to be fair, they started throwing rocks at them. So
yeah, that's true.
Didn't they save the two people that were in that house? The ones that actually let them in their house? I thought they put them on the ship too.
I don't think so.
And then they saved all those kids that were in the ship.
Yeah, but they were already in the ship.
I'm just saying they saved the kids, too.
Captives.
Yeah, they were captives.
And they're not even the same species.
Do you know... So what was your favorite part of the movie? So I'm just going to give you mine while you think. The villain. This is one of the best villains. Like, it's in my top 3 villains of all time.
Because he's a true villain.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like... And he
not
literally
trying to be redeemed.
He literally has no redeemable qualities.
Yeah.
Everybody else kind of has some redeemable quality when they're a big bad villain. Like
right.
Thanos is literally thinking, all these places are starving. There's so much mass population.
If I wipe out half the population,
everybody will flourish.
It's better for everybody.
It's better for everybody. Then you have
the Bill Gates
Killmonger
idea.
Killmonger for me is one of the best villains, but he's right. They should share their technology. They should do all these things, not necessarily to only to the black brothers and sisters to rise up against everybody, but they should be sharing their technology and helping the world. So he had some redeeming qualities. This guy does. He don't have a fucking one.
No.
Like, it looked like there was a couple moments during it, and I love that they did it, that he might have some redeeming qualities as he was, like, teaching Rocket certain things while Rocket was, like, just barely learning how to move, talk, think.
Right. But
and then
ultimately
he rips that away.
Yeah, ultimately he's just trying to make him be the best evolutionary thing.
Yes.
And then he moves on from that project. It was just a project.
Yes, just a project.
And
on. It's so good. It's such a good villain.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I saw some hate for him, like people saying that he's not one of the best villains, but he's so good.
Kang also has no redeemable qualities, though.
Well, I don't know yet. Which version of Kang? This last one?
Well, Ant-Man Quantumania, he's not a good guy the whole way.
Well, no, he's a good guy in the beginning with Michelle Pfeiffer, because
he's trying to manipulate her into getting his ship to work.
Sure, but he's good, and then he said he wasn't going to kill her. That's good.
Ugh, I don't know.
Just saying.
I believe they call that Stockholm Syndrome.
But no, so and we didn't really get to see much of his past yet anyway. I don't know if they're going to do that within Kang Dynasty or not.
I'm sure.
Well, we might just be focusing on all the other Kangs, not necessarily what happened for them to banish that one.
Right.
Especially if that one's actually dead. I don't think he is, but if they're having him dead, there's no reason to revisit that specific Kang.
Right.
But yeah, such a good villain. Just top to bottom, one of the best ones that I think we've had in the MCU period. Like, up there with Thanos and Killmonger for me, and it's probably above... as a villain, he's above both. As a villain that actually takes, like, a Avenger-type people to defeat, no, he's not on that level. Everybody could kick his ass, as we saw in this movie. But just for being as diabolical as he is, with only his own self-interest in mind of playing God, it's so damn good.
Right.
Yeah, very impressed. So what about you? I know we were talking about this, but I don't know if you were thinking while we were talking.
No, I was not. So I don't know about a favorite part. I also like the fact that he is a very good villain. I don't... Like, in Thor, there was a bunch of parts about... was it Gore?
Gore the God Butcher?
Yeah. That I didn't... Acting-wise, it wasn't believable enough. I didn't find any flaws in the acting. He played the part
spot on.
Very, 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 very well.
I believed every word, and he pissed me off.
Yeah.
Like, I bought that shit hook, line, and sinker, and I was like, kill him, Rocket, kill him.
Get him.
Yeah, just scratch his eyes out. It's fine.
When he was just going at, he was just going, it was just like, yeah.
Yeah. And I've never, like, I don't know if I've ever cried in a movie theater, but my eyes were completely full of tears. I didn't cry, but my eyes were welled up.
The little baby raccoons?
When they killed Lila, I think that was her name. Is that the name? Lila? Yeah. When they killed Lila, and then when he's holding all the baby raccoons, both of those moments, my eyes were about to go.
Right, so in the beginning, you see the hand going in. Mm-hmm. Is that... That's not Rocket's hand the first time, right? That's the other guy pulling Rocket out of the cage.
Pulling Rocket out, yes.
And then you kind of see that same...
motif of him pulling him out, but
and they're like,
in a good way.
Yeah, they're thinking like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then they all just jump onto him.
Yeah, and they realize it's like, oh, it's just another...
But again, I love that because it doesn't last long
he
either.
He also realizes he's a raccoon.
He does. That's such a good moment, too, because he's saying all the time he's not a raccoon.
The little thing, it's like the actual, like...
Yeah, it comes to the realization that I actually am a raccoon.
Fuck, I'm a raccoon.
Yeah. But now he gets to own that he's a raccoon, and it was so good, man. Like, it gives me more faith in James Gunn with the DC. DC have been in shambles with many of their movies for a very long time. Yeah. So I have more faith in what he's going to be able to do with this thing going on.
The question he's the one directing. Is WB going to give him the ability The open
they basically turned him into Kevin Feige.
Like do it. Just make us money.
Make us money.
With no oversight.
They already did
all.
make him, he made them some money with the Suicide Squad, and not to mention all the money and accolades that he's gotten for Peacemaker. Like, people loved that show. It was great. I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, I just don't know if they're gonna give him like just go open season, just make us,
I think they're gonna give him carte blanche, man. I think they're just gonna let him have at it. And not to mention, let's say they were like a little bit hesitant. All they have to do is look at Guardians 3 and look how it is just crushing everything. Like the last 3 or 4 or 5 Marvel movies, after week 1 in the theater, they had like an 80-something% drop off in the amount of people that went to the theater to see the movie, which is somewhat typical. There's always a drop off because a lot of people go see opening weekend. This movie only had like a 50% drop, and that is like the best second week of a Marvel movie in like a decade. And it's just because of probably since like the Avenger movies.
Yeah.
Or No Way Home, I should say, actually. That in and of itself should speak highly to James Gunn and what his ability is, and I would be like, dude, do whatever you want. Make it good.
I just don't know if DC has...
What else are you going to do? You've tried it your way 10 different times, and it has failed.
Yeah, I know. That's my problem, though, is like, I just don't know if DC has the characters that...
What do you mean?
Are
Iron Man
developable.
wasn't like a giant, huge comic star until the movies.
I don't know. They came out with an animated Iron Man.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, though.
I don't know.
Their biggest character was Spider-Man.
Animated Batman is really good. I love that series.
It was great. Yeah. There's multiple Batmans, and most of them are pretty decent.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with the movie.
Which movie?
With the whole DC series.
Oh. Well, we're going to get the reset
Didn't
with
James
the Flash
Gunn
movie.
do Suicide Squad, though?
Yeah, the second one, which was better.
I fucking did not like that.
Yeah,
one.
I don't know how you liked the first one.
I didn't like the first one.
Okay, well, the second one's great with Polka Dot Man.
Ugh.
Oh, it's so good. And Peacemaker and the giant starfish.
The starfish was the worst.
It's so
part.
good.
It's so
That's
bad.
from the comics.
I know.
That's
my problem, though, is like the comics suck.
how dare you, sir?
Ugh.
But anyway, all right.
The
So
best
back to
part was just where Peacemaker goes in and kills everybody, and then realizes that they're
on the team.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good moment.
Like that's the whole best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's also why that TV show with Peacemaker was great. Like, it's off the fucking walls, and it's rated R for a reason for like that type of TV show, or rated MA, because it doesn't hold anything back, and it's fucking crazy, and he does stupid shit like that. That's great.
Yeah,
it's really good. But back to Guardians. We'll get to Peacemaker if they ever do a season 2. What did we?
I haven't watched Teen Titans yet either.
No, I don't think you're missing much, but I don't watch that. I know you like it.
Titans?
I just don't care.
I haven't watched season 3 yet. I like Titans a lot. It's really good.
So what did we think about the culmination at the end? So obviously Peter goes back to Earth.
Awful.
You didn't like Peter going to Earth?
No.
Meet his grandfather.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's mentioned multiple times that you have family on Earth, but like the party at the end of the movie, like it was way drawn out.
So I will say there's a reason for that, and I wanted to talk about that.
Okay.
The reason that it was drawn out is because it's supposed to be the last Guardians movie. So it's trying to show where everybody ended up and why that fits their story. So you have Drax's character, who in the beginning is just
they're all like
out
dancing
for
on nowhere.
Yeah, they're dancing on nowhere because they're able to be happy, and they've successfully defended the universe again, and they also kind of have these revelations that they've been going through. So like Drax is this person that wants revenge on Thanos for killing his family, and he's this big tough dude, but he's really not. He should be a father, as Mantis says, and now he gets to kind of like raise hundreds of these little kids, and gets to be a father and enjoy everything that comes along with that.
That sounds miserable.
For him, he loves it.
Yeah.
You know, you get Rocket, who didn't used to have a family and had everybody he loved die, and now he gets to run this crew that he basically proved himself to. And even though some of them are leaving, like Gamora is staying on her own, and Peter's left the crew, he now gets to run it with Groot and like have something that is his own.
Adam Warlock
and Mantis and yada yada.
Well, Mantis is doing her own thing.
Oh, that's right, Mantis. Yeah, she said she was leaving.
She went off with the creatures.
Who am I thinking of?
It's Groot?
It's Groot. Warlock is Nebula. Or is she not there too?
I don't know.
No, but isn't it some of the kids?
The guy with the fin.
The guy with oh yeah, which I'm pretty sure is like James Gunn's brother, by the way.
I don't know. I've seen him in other movies.
Most of James Gunn stuff. Pretty sure it's James Gunn's brother.
He's in the Terminal List.
It's been forever since I saw that. You're talking about the one with Tom Hanks?
Terminal List?
Yeah.
No,
that's called The Terminal.
Navy SEAL movie with Chris Pratt.
Oh.
Chris Pratt's a Navy SEAL. One of the like CEOs of a company that is a bad company. He's like the CEO.
Oh,
he plays.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it directed by James Gunn?
No, it's a wicked good show though.
Oh, it's a show.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
on Amazon.
Yeah, it's a series on Amazon. I think.
Yeah, I think I've seen the preview for it, but I haven't watched it.
Very good if you haven't seen it.
If
you're into like war kind of shows.
But anyway, so Batista gets his culmination story. Mantis kind of gets hers because she admits that she has a brother during the holiday special, and then gets to like stand up for herself. And now she's gonna go find out who she truly is. So she gets her ending. Nebula is gonna own like basically nowhere or run nowhere. So she gets that where she still has like a relationship with her sister, but not to the level it was before the original Gamora died. She's able to express her feelings and not have thinking that she's lesser than everybody else. Peter got abducted / abandoned by his family, and then realized that he actually does have a dad, more or less in Yondu in the second movie, and then in the third movie, once he had the kind of closure with Gamora, that then he's like, okay, I can go, I don't have to be here. I can go try to live a life on Earth, or at least go meet my grandfather. So I thought that was great culmination. Groot, you obviously just see him keep growing up and still being with Rocket. He didn't really have much of a character arc thing, except I'll get to one thing in a second. So that scene at the end of them all dancing and doing that stuff, to me, I do agree it was drawn out. It could have been a little bit shorter, but it was trying to show that. Haven't you ever seen those movies at the end where they show you a picture and then next to the picture, it then writes up text about what they did in the future? That's what it almost felt like without the text of showing like, oh, they then lived till they were 70 and they got married and they did this and they still live in the same town they grew up in, like all that stuff that you normally see. That's what it felt like to me, just without the actual writing on the screen, to show that like these stories are ended and they did have their arc completed.
Yeah.
I will say that technically all the moviegoers had an arc as well, which I don't know if you picked up on. I was actually very annoyed by this scene until I heard a James Gunn interview or a tweet. I think it was a tweet. It was the Groot line at the very end of the movie.
We are Groot or whatever.
No, and the We Are Groot was fine. That was from the second movie. The third movie, he says, I love you guys.
Yeah.
I fucking hated that until I heard James Gunn say, that's not what he said. He actually said, I am Groot. But because we've spent 3 movies with them, we now understand Groot. So him saying, I am Groot, we understood that he said, I love you guys. That is a phenomenal touch to the end of that movie. Like, I hated that scene. Hated it. Corey and I talked about it. Fucking hated it. I was like, why? Now he can just speak English? Why couldn't the other Groot speak English? Nope, he's still speaking Groot. We just now understand Groot. Yeah, love it. That's such a good little touch add-on, and especially because They did that earlier in the movie with
sucks that they
Gamora.
have to explain it, though, but I can understand why they'd have to explain it.
You shouldn't have had to explain it if you thought about it, because they kind of do the same thing with Gamora just a couple minutes beforehand, because she's standing there and Groot's talking to her, and then all of a sudden she can understand him.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to go for there, but I thought, at least initially, they were just saying, like, oh, now he can speak English. And I hated it. And now I love it. It's a great thing for us as audience goers to now be like, oh, we went through all these movies with Groot, 5 of them, and now we can understand him.
Right.
Like, it's great. Yeah, loved it.
The real question is if he ever comes back, are we going to understand him the whole time?
I see that. I don't know. Are we just going to listen to Vin Diesel from now on rather than the I Am Groot?
I mean, he's all done with Fast and the Furious, I think, right?
No, he's not. That's we just got part 1 out of the part 2 saga that's supposed to end it. However, now they're talking about turning it into a trilogy, so we might have 2 more movies to end the Fast series.
Of course.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to like Fast Part
13.
12. This is just 10, so there's gonna be 2 more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, I am gonna see it.
I'm gonna see it too, and I'm gonna hate it. That's what I did the last time. I went to the theater and I hated it.
Fast 9.
I don't know. I saw people sending a bunch of things. People, save your money. Don't go see this. It's crap. I'm expecting it to be crap.
It's already out?
Yeah, it came out last week.
Really?
Yeah.
And people already say it's absolutely awful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a Fast movie. Like, they haven't been real good since the first one. And then the second one is okay. And then the third one holds a special place in my heart for no reason. Yeah. It's good, but it's not. Like, I loved it, but it's a shitty movie.
It's a good movie.
Oh, it's a shitty movie. Then you have Fast and Furious, which I liked. Fast 5, I actually liked a lot because it was basically like a bank heist movie.
Yeah.
And then it just goes off the fucking rails after that. Like, so bad. But anyway, all right. So let's wrap up Guardians here. Let's ask 2 questions. First is, if you had the ability to say and make it happen, would you want to see a Guardians 4?
After seeing 3, yes, but I don't know where they would go. I don't know where they would go from here.
I mean, there's a ton of other villains that are in the Guardians universe they could use. But yes, I'd be curious where exactly they go, because they did tie up a lot of their stories.
If they all came back together for like a reunion battle, like an Avengers,
that might be the
Avengers style Guardians movie.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yep, I would agree with that. Like, something big and bad would have to come after them, whatever it is.
I really enjoy the sci-fi movies. Like, I really love Star Trek movies. I love Star Wars movies, and it's just that like the Guardians is like sci-fi tech. Did you
play the Guardians video game on Xbox?
No.
So I don't know if it's still in Game Pass or not, but if it is, play it. It's amazing. And it's Adam Warlock done right.
Really?
Oh, it's great. I didn't expect it to be great. I thought it was going to be bad. And it's great. I played the hell out of that thing.
No shit.
The controls take a little bit getting used to.
It's not like the X-Men, right? The X-Men game?
Nope, not like that.
That was awful.
No, this is really, really good.
No shit.
Yeah. All right, so now the second question. Well, answer my question that I asked you. Yes, I'd love to see a Guardians 4. But I wouldn't want to see it if it wasn't James Gunn. I really don't think I'd want to see that. We've had too many movies where different directors kind of take over.
Yeah.
And even though we still have Kevin Feige,
own spin on it.
Yeah. And then you're just like, well, that wasn't what they were going for. What are you doing?
Yeah, don't do that.
So then the second question is, how many, if not all of them, do you think we see back in the Avengers movies?
I definitely don't think Drax is ever coming back.
You don't think he could be enticed to come back to die?
No.
I don't know.
I mean, anybody could if they're like, hey, for $10 million, will you do a cameo?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I don't think they need him to come back for anything.
See, that's what I was going to say. I don't think they need him to come back either. But he could die if he wanted to. It's just, I feel like his story doesn't need that.
Gamora could kind of start having a relationship with Star-Lord. Maybe she
I
meets him
don't
on
think
Earth.
that's gonna happen.
I don't know. She looks like she's looking at him in a different light at the end of the movie. You kind of see that like the sparkles start.
I just think she's seeing him less annoying, but I don't necessarily know it's gonna be the love. And then for him, let's say
That's
it
how it started
does.
on the other one, though.
I understand, but he already has all these memories and feelings of her, and she has none of that. So even if they get together, it's not gonna be the same, and it shouldn't be. So I don't see them getting
dating
together.
a twin.
I don't see them getting together. But yeah, she could. You're interested in seeing that dynamic in an Avenger movie, though, or?
I mean, I feel like if they're on, because he's on Earth now,
Yes,
so he could
currently.
easily be part of the secret invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything like that. Like, he'll be the first to know, so he might like reach out to her first, and or Rocket. I definitely want to see Rocket back.
Yeah, Rocket would be good.
So I think out of all of them, I think Rocket, Gamora, and Star-Lord probably will be back and should be back. If it's not any of those three characters, I don't care.
Okay. I think I would agree with that.
Groot is fine. He's
You're not going to
brute.
get Rocket without Groot, though.
Yeah, again, like he's just a big brute. I don't know. I mean, Baby Groot was kind of cool, and
I don't know. I thought you had a lot of character development for a character that can only say 3 words.
I guess
Like, because he sacrificed himself in the first one. The second one, he's slowly growing up. And having his little moments, that's fine. And then in Infinity War, he's a teenager and literally has to like grow up pretty quick to deal with this Thanos level threat. And like I said, sacrifices his own arm and then fights with everybody to save the world. And then now has become this big hulking mass. So like I felt for that type of character, I think they've done what they can for a character development.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so final thoughts, Guardians, before we close it out. What do you got? Anything?
Really good.
Really good.
2 goods up.
2 goods up. That's a pretty good movie.
9-3.
Yeah, I have it at the 9s. So I will say other where do you rank it in the 3 Guardians movies?
I like Guardians 1 because it's the first one and it's very well done, and it is much different than all the other. Like, again, it falls in a different genre of superhero of movies. So I really like that one. And again, it's the first one that you see. It's got a lot of different things going on. It's done very well, but it's really close to the first one. I didn't love the second one. It was okay. There was some really
hilarious to me. We're exactly the same.
Again, there's really good parts. I really like Yondo's story arc in the second one. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
It was a great moment.
Yeah, and he's a great actor too.
Yep. Rourke, right? No, not Rourke. Isn't it Michael Rourke?
Michael Rourke.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay. So I'm in the exact same line with you. I have it right below the first one, but barely.
Yeah, they could easily be
flipped easily, and it's
depending
so
on
good.
what mood I am that day.
Yeah, and especially because the first one I feel like is more funny and has some good story elements, and then the third one
soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yes, on all of them.
Yeah.
But the third one has less funny moments, but it seems more story driven,
right?
And with a lot of drama and heart.
Yes,
a heartfelt story that you're not really expecting, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, I could flip flop them. So yeah. My final, I'm gonna give this a good as well, or a very good, 2 goods up, all that shot.
Solid.
Like it's definitely in the 9 point something range.
Go
for me.
watch it.
Yes. If you haven't yet, definitely go watch this shit. It's great.
Now that we've an hour of spoiling it, go watch it.
So next week we will be doing Evil Dead Rise. We saw that about a month ago at this point.
Woof.
How dare you, sir? But yeah, so we'll be doing that and hopefully have Corey back in the studio. If not, fuck that guy. That's we're gonna end. We're gonna end on fuck that guy.